What is up, Luke and friends? All right, welcome to our next episode of Pokebard TCG. So I'm excited to talk to you today. Phase one is complete, as I talked about in the last video, with some fuzzy math, but you get the picture. And now we're on to phase two. All right, so what is phase two? Well, phase two is going to be bulk. Okay, so we want to look for a very inexpensive way to get started, and there's some backstory as to why that is. So before this business, I've been looking to get into physical products because my other businesses are not physical, right? So I either provide a service as a lawyer or I provide a service as a writer, and those things are not tangible. So I wanted to get into physical products because you can scale a physical product where you can't really scale a person and a service as easily. It's extremely expensive to scale a service because take being a lawyer, for example. If I wanted to reopen my law firm, I'd have to hire a bunch of lawyers and staff and support, and it's a bajillion dollars. And I don't have a bajillion dollars. I don't want to spend a bajillion dollars. So the cool thing about a product, though, or a tangible product, is that it can scale. And when it scales, if you get economies of scale, you can you can do quite well for yourself. And also, the other advantage of a product is that it can be delegated to someone else very simply. Most products, like if you're like someone's going to pack a TCG order, right, like a trading card, you can train anyone to do that, right? But for a lawyer, for example, I can't just go hire a lawyer. They're hard to find, they're expensive, good ones are hard, etc. So I can't just train you to be a good lawyer. You kind of already need to be one. Even if I'm going to get you as like a brand new, fresh out of law school lawyer, there's a lot of training that's involved in that over a period of years. That's why it takes 9 years to become a partner most of the time. So before this business, I had an electrolyte business. So I still have it, but I spent about $10,000. I hope my wife's not watching this. About $10,000 in materials and getting it going and starting to make sales until I got to like the end of, I would say, phase one, where I had a social presence on social media. We had some customers and some repeat customers, and I had verified the idea, or I had validated the idea. I'd gone from 0 to 1. I had the pouches, I had all the way to do it. And so it took me about $10,000 to validate the idea. But then I sort of hit this problem, which the bottleneck was, is that I was like, there's a lot of exposure here, and because it's like a food product where you ingest an electrolyte, where people eat it, or I mean, they drink it, but where they put it in their bodies, there's a lot of exposure there legally, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna have to spend even more money to get this in compliance and testing and legal and all that. And I was like, I don't really have the capital to do that available. I can get it, but I don't really want to do that. And so that's when I sort of pivoted into like, well, what else can I do? And then I sort of kind of stumbled upon reselling, and I was like, okay, well, Pokemon, no one's gonna no one's gonna have like a reaction, an anaphylactic shock reaction to Pokemon. So there's not that huge exposure risk, and it was just stressing me out, even if I was protected by properly protected by the legal structures, properly protected by testing, quality control, all that stuff. It was still too stressful for me. I was like, I can't. I'm thinking about it. I want to do a business where I'm not stressed, right? So in that business, basically, I put a bunch of money into it just to discover, hey, I don't really want to do that business. So that informs my decision for this next talk we're going to talk about, which is buy or build, right? So you can compress a lot of time frames by just buying things, right? Like that's what I did in the electrolyte business. I just continually paid top dollar to do things quickly, and I was able to get it off the ground, make some sales, and do all that relatively quickly, actually. But the Pokemon business now with the bulk, right? So I've got about 10,000 cards and Pokemon cards right now. And on the Magic side, I'm going to use a little bit of a different strategy on the Magic side. So let's just focus on the Pokemon cards for the bulk for Pokemon cards. I've got about 10,000 cards right now, and so the step one is procurement, right? Step two then is list. So we've got 10,000 cards. We're going to list 10,000 cards. What's the best way to do that? Well, I discovered that manually definitely doesn't do that. It takes forever, and so we're starting to look into some automation possibilities. The first thing I did was I got a card slinger, which is just a little contraption where you can just helps you feed cards. Your phone's on top of it, and this phone scanner can scan. But I've had some issues with regards to exporting from different scanners to be able to do the chaos inventory, which is what I want to do. If you don't know what chaos inventory is, it doesn't really appeal to me at all to sort things by set, alphabetize them, and then scan them in in that way, and then I can just go look them up, right, wherever they are by their alphabetical order. The reason why that doesn't appeal to me is because, yeah, we can do that for the first 10,000, but then as we get more inventory, we're going to have to zipper everything in there. Let's go zippering it in there, right? And that's zippering or unzippering, and not in a good way. Okay, so I didn't have that. Doesn't appeal to me at all. Whereas chaos sorting, you just sort everything as it comes in, however you get it, assign it into sections, and then the software that you have will take care of that for you and give it a number for a SKU. So you just go look for it in its location, and that really appeals to me. Now, and I think we can do that with 10,000 and just try it out from the beginning. Now you have to have some specific software to be able to do that. Everyone's talking about Sort Swift, and so I looked at some other stuff. And so as I was trying to upload a CSV with my scans, I was having a huge problem, both on Sort Swift and Card Uploader, and everything. That did not make it easy. So I was like, I finally broke down. I said, I'm just going to bite the bullet and just buy a scanner. Okay. So everyone's raging about the Fujitsu 5000 or whatever it is, 87 or whatever it is, the 800, 8000 series. And yeah, it's a great scanner, but it's 800 bucks. So do I want to spend, do I have $800? Yes. Do I want to spend $800 on a scanner that I'm not sure exactly about where the business is going to go, right? No, I really don't want to. So when I was talking to the Sort Swift guy, I got a call on a call with him. They're really cool to get on a call with you. I think it was the owner, the guy that invented it or whatever. Um, I was like, well, I found this Fujitsu 7000 for $200. I didn't tell him I found it for $200 refurbished. I just said, hey, I have access to this Fujitsu 700. Will that work? He's like, well, the 8000 is better. I was like, I feel like Fujitsu's paid the money. But I was like, well, will the 7,000 work? He's like, yeah, the 7,000 should be fine. I'm like, great, thanks. So I got off the call, and then I immediately put in my order to Amazon, refurbished. So the scanner's $210, and I got the $30 warranty for 3 years. So now I have a $200 scanner. So if I do make a pivot where something's going to go in a different direction, I don't really feel like, oh my god, I have this $800 scanner for no reason, right? Like I have all this electrolyte powder all in my house right now. I don't know what to do with. I'm just going to keep exercising to try to use it all. But so the issue then becomes is that, okay, great. So then I can start kind of open my mind to some other possibilities with that money. And the cool thing is like, look, it's like, is it the sushi roku raw sushi scanner already that TCGPlayer has? That's $800. So maybe I want to do that sifter, spend the 800 on that. I don't know. But all I do know is that I got this $200 scanner coming in tomorrow. I got 10,000 cards, and I'm going to start getting them in and scanning them into the inventory. So for me, I choose to build the business sort of like on a shoestring until I figure out exactly what it is that I want to do. Because the only way, I don't know what I don't know, and the only way to be able to do that is to get in there and start having the experience, right? So we're a level 4 seller on TCG. I'm not messing around with eBay right now. I'm sure eBay is going to be a channel for us, but I'm like, let's get TCG dialed in. So let's just do that. And then once I get that dialed in, I feel comfortable, then we can talk about going on from there. And so what's the cheapest and fastest way to do that? Well, doing it with the cards, the cheapest way is to do it with the card slinger on my phone and then just figure out the upload with the CSV. But it was just, nobody could figure it out. I couldn't figure it out. It was like, I had to get all the code. I don't know where to get the code. So I was like, this is taking too long. If I would have had to spend 800, I probably would have figured it out. But let me spend the 700 or the 200 and get the 7,000 series and just build from there. That way, as I can get it in there. I mean, I'll blow $200 on. I've blown $200 a night on beer before. Like I don't drink anymore, but back in the day, like a $200 bar bill is not outrageous. So if your buddy's out, you're buying, after a drink or two, you're like, let's get around. Let me buy you around. Hey guys, let me buy you. It gets up there. So $200 to me was not a big deal. And then yeah, so I'm excited about that. So it comes in tomorrow. So next week, I'm sure I'm going to talk about how that went, listing the cards. I'm like, oh no, the Fujitsu 7000 was the worst decision ever. I mean, I don't know, but I'll know next week. But I'm making a conscious decision, and this is something that's a lesson I want for Luke and anyone else that's listening, is that you need to figure out, am I building or am I buying, right? And if you're buying, you know to make sure you have enough capital to get everything that you need. Building is a safe way to do it, but it just takes longer. So, but I have time because it's a side business. I don't need this money to eat, right? I've got plenty of other businesses and money and all that. So I can build it sort of properly because I'm funded by my other stuff. So buy or build, just make sure that it doesn't really, there's no right or wrong answer here. The the buy aspect of the electrolyte business wasn't wrong. I mean, I just found out quickly. I was like, okay, this is too much exposure here. I don't like it. So there's no wrong answer here. Just make sure you're picking it on purpose. Because if you just kind of do half and half or you're messing around, you'll get killed in the middle. You always get killed in the middle. Make a decision and act on it. Get the feedback and then course correct. So thank you for coming to my garage bunker talk, and we will meet again.